Now, if we attend your class, do we have to listen to Ballad of Runaway Horse on repeat or anything like that? Or
No, you get to hear Ricky Lee Jones.
okay,
Oh,
Ricky
all
Lee
right.
Jones, if you ask anybody in the class, you hear Ricky Lee Jones about, oh, I don't know, 50 times. We have other tracks as well.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I really try to do, and it's part of the curriculum, is teaching people how to listen, what I call professional listening.
mhm.
It's different than audiophile listening. If somebody is listening real intently and they say it sounds chocolatey, that's not professional listening because I can't scientifically explain what chocolatey
That just
sounds
means
like.
you want to eat it, whatever it is. It's just
I
I
think
love
they really like
chocolate,
it.
you
That's
know.
all I can say.
You're
Unless they hate
hungry.
chocolate, and then it means the opposite.
Yeah.
So, but so we try to get people to focus on key metrics of sound, and
That's tough.
we also teach what you change in the room, how that affects those metrics. So if you're looking for a lot of envelopment, a wide sound stage,
Mhm,
and this sense of being immersed,
mhm,
well, there's things in the room that affect that,
mhm.
and you can either increase your envelopment or decrease it based upon how you change the room. And once you understand that cause and effect relationship between the metrics and the design and the calibration too, you have power. You have control over how to steer the room to where you want to go. Because I'm not going to tell you that there is a absolute standard of what sounds good. Everybody's got their own perspective on that. But that's why we focus on certain metrics that pretty much cut across all preference lines. If you like to turn up the bass or you like to have more treble, I do not have a problem with that. The metrics don't relate to that.
Mm.
So
They Go ahead.
would you say that when you're referring to professional listening versus audiophile listening, professional listening would be uh, calibrated towards actual measurable data? Is that
Well,
how that
that's
kind of
just it.
works?
That's just it. Not everything can be measured. I'm enough of an audiophile still that I know when something's right when I hear it.
Ah,
And so, if I could come up with a gizmo that could just lay it out and we just adjust the dials till we get it perfect. Oh man, then I
make
could
some
die.
money.
But that's not the way it works. I always used to compare audio calibration and video calibration. With video calibration, you have an encapsulated system, a
System, yeah,
projector or a TV,
right.
and you can adjust it relative, of course, to the
Sure.
the room uh, illumination, and
Ambient
you
light.
can pretty much dial it in with a set of tools
Mhm.
and set of measurements. You can't do that with audio because there are so many completely independent pieces. The center channel and the right and left channels are completely independent of each other, and their alignment is critical. And if someone doesn't understand how to properly align them, they're going to miss out. And I could go down the line. So
Right.
uh, it is all about you know being very familiar with the music or whatever that you're listening to, and having a reference, having heard it the way you think it's supposed to be, and then trying to get that effect in the client's home. So listening to the same reference material over and over and over and over and over again is what it takes. It's really
Yeah.
you have to know every nuance of that recording, and so that's why Ricky Lee Jones. There's a cut. This one track we only listened to about a minute and a half of it, but
Mhm.
it's amazing, and the recording was very dynamically recorded. So most of the time, her voice sounds like it's going to rip the tweeter off the
Mm.
speaker,
Right.
and until you start dialing it in right.
Hmm.
What's the track again?
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's Hi Lily. Hi Lily, Hi Lily, Hello. It's an old track. Most of my reference stuff is 30 and even 30 years older. Everybody's really amazed by that. Why don't you use the HD stuff? Why don't you use the 24 bit? And it's like, because it doesn't matter. That's not what we're listening for. We're listening for these things. The only time it gets a little comical is when I get some young guy in there and he's tweaking his ears and he's looking around. What's that noise? And I have to tell him it's called tape hiss. Yeah, even digital recordings had tape hiss back then.
Yeah,
that's funny. And for the people who didn't get my reference to that song, it's one that they use for, I think it's a Sumiko method of placing speakers. And I actually called them I called Macintosh Group one time, and that's their hold music when you call. That song plays. So it's the song that they use for that. So if you didn't get that reference.
Yeah, well, the Sumiko guys, they're all about listening. And I like to think that we're more of a hybrid. We definitely depend heavily on measurements because it saves time.
Would you prefer that your students say, "Hey, this has a slight bump below 80 hertz from 40 hertz to 80 hertz," or would you rather them say, "Hey, you know what? I think this one sounds a little less musical."
If they could tell me there's a bump below 80 hertz, I'll be mightily impressed. And there are some people who have tuned themselves, but we don't do that. We use an FFT. We measure it. Sounding musical is a term which I would probably, unfortunately, be forced to put into the audiophile realm, not because it doesn't have some validity, but because there's no we can't really draw
like
anything from
quantify
that.
it. Anything
Yeah,
like that?
exactly.
Yeah.
We
Who
can't.
who determines what's musical and what isn't?
I
Well,
do. Me.
if you're enjoying something, if it's dynamic, if it's if everything's there, I think musical's a great way to describe it. But I can't say, well, let's make this room more musical. Okay, where do we start?
Play some more music. There it is.
There you go.
Get John on the
Problem
DJ.
solved.